So with me, I have Josiah, also known as DTB Chilling Silence.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, man.
Absolutely. Love to have you. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do with Digibyte.
So I got involved. Originally, I was told about the ability to print money from your computer, and a friend of mine basically said, "Hey, you should look into Bitcoin." And this was back in 2013, and so I
Hmm.
started looking into it. I convinced my then wife to let me buy a couple of graphics cards and start mining. Now that was right as the first ASIC sort of started to come along. So
Hmm.
unfortunately for me, I mined for 3 days and made zero point 0.1 of a Bitcoin, and it cost me more than that in power. So that didn't last too long. But shortly after, I managed to find Litecoin, and then about 2 or 3 weeks after that, I found Digibyte. In I think around about February of 2014. So through a series of events, I stopped mining and stopped really paying attention to it terribly much. But then come around about the start of 2017, I got into it again, and ever since I've been doing everything from writing guides, technical documentation, helping out with the community, starting to do more YouTube videos, doing these kinds of interviews, and just general community education. I kind of felt was a big need that I could fill, and helping educate people and make sure that they were well informed and knew what they were talking about and knew the differences between, say, Digibyte versus Bitcoin and things like that. So, yeah, that's kind of the role that I've sort of put myself into.
That's
The
great.
joys of being permissionless, you just have to do it, and yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. So do you remember the article or how it is that you found out about Digibyte?
Mm. Yeah, I do actually. So I was at the time on the Bitcoin talk forums. Now they're not used terribly much now, ever since around about 2017, and everyone loves ICOs and talk on Telegram or Twitter. No one really talks about it, but that was where, like, back in the day, everybody who was anybody was
Yeah.
there. That was where they all hung out, and like this was this incredible repository of information, like this huge wealth, like a treasure trove, and nobody really goes through anymore, unfortunately. But anyway, back in the day, I was reading some things about Litecoin and Dogecoin. Actually, somebody was saying maybe I should mine Dogecoin. So I was looking into Dogecoin while I'd been mining Litecoin, and I came across Digibyte, and somebody in the Dogecoin forums had just talked about how the Digibyte team had helped them implement DigiShield. And I was like, wow, that's super freaking cool. What a nice community to do this for another coin. And I mean, not a lot of people know this, but that's the only reason why Dogecoin is still around today. That was the last, up until about a week ago, that was the last major update that they'd done was in 2014. So yeah, that's how I found out about it through Bitcoin Talk. And I was like, this is freaking cool. What a great community. What a great set of developers. They've already, in just the 6 weeks since they launched, they've been improving things. Like, this is awesome.
That is really great of the community. Yeah, I was looking at Dogecoin's GitHub page, and I was looking at the commits, and I was a little bit surprised to see the some activity, but it's just really small stuff. But I'm glad that the last great addition to Doge was from Digibyte.
Yeah, and so I think just recently they've finally updated and they've pulled down some more upstream Bitcoin Core changes. I think it was actually around about a week ago. Last time I was actually looking was probably a month ago, though, through all of their, like, they'd split off and start working on 0.15 and 0.17, something along those lines, but
Hmm.
never actually do anything really with it. They weren't official releases that they'd put out or anything, and there was one or two commits over the years, but not a lot. So it seems like they've really kind of started to catch up recently. There's some new blood in the field there that has been taking over the helm. So that's cool. Good for
Hmm.
them.
Yeah, good. Well, that's what a decentralized network's for.
Yeah, that's the whole joys of being permissionless, right? Like, you don't
Right.
just you've got to basically step up and do it. There's nobody to ask permission, and so if you're going to wait for permission, nothing's ever going to happen.
Exactly. So what sets Digibyte apart from Doge or Litecoin or Bcash?
Well, so I mean, the first and foremost thing that people think of is obviously the block timing. So we're 40 times faster than Bitcoin Cash. Litecoin has 2.5 minute blocks, so again, we are 10 times faster than them. And as a result, that means that we've obviously got a higher throughput, a higher capacity
Hmm.
on our network for additional transactions, for you to do things like digi assets, for you to store things on the blockchain. That's probably the first and foremost thing that comes to mind. But also as a result of this, and as a result of our kind of, I suppose it's our focus on cybersecurity over the years, we've continued to improve. So we haven't just stopped, we haven't just released it and gone, here you go, all right, let's all go home now. We're all gonna take a nap. And it's been consistently evolving, constantly over the last 5 years since launch. And that's something that very much sets it apart from anything else. Maybe with the exception of Bitcoin, and I mean, potentially even Bitcoin SV is one of the other highly developed ones.
Really?
But I mean, you compare us to say Doge or Litecoin, where all they've done ever since they launched was pull down upstream. Although actually Doge has even done more. Doge and them have done merge mining, and they've implemented DigiShield. So that's not entirely fair.
So what's new that's coming up with Digibyte?
Right. Well, so as of this morning, we actually got the AutoCrypt upgrade locked in, which is fantastic. So this is going to replace one of our 5 mining algorithms with another one. The idea being that it is FPGA mined, and because it changes itself every 10 days, we've effectively removed any kind of incentive to build an ASIC. Because if you were to build an ASIC that can change itself every 10 days, you're basically making an FPGA. And so why would you go and spend potentially billions of dollars making an FPGA when they're already out there? So, I mean, that's kind of cool, because we don't then have one single individual vendor that's making these devices that are mining the network. I mean, we see the Antbleed vulnerability that came out last year. Was it last year? I think it was.
Was it last year? Oh, wow. I thought it was like almost 2 years ago now.
Right. Well, time flies, but so these are that's a huge problem, because imagine if all of a sudden every single Antminer out there managed to receive an update that was malicious, that basically said you're now going to attack the Bitcoin network. What could they do about it? Nothing. They'd be in so much trouble. So
I mean, you can't have just one manufacturer. I mean, then they just control prices, and then they're able to, flood the market with, the latest thing.
Yeah, well, exactly. And so they even mine themselves, is what we've seen. So they'll mine themselves, and then once they've managed to milk it enough, and they've got enough of their own kind of profit out of it, and they're starting to work on the next generation, they'll then hawk off this older generation. Go, hey guys, you want to buy this? You want to mine Bitcoin? It's great. And by the way, we've got a new generation coming out in 6 months. We ain't going to tell you about, but you know it's coming. But you're going to buy this stuff anyway. Which
it's ironic that you say that, because that's exactly what they're doing right now with the L5. They put the contracts up on BitTier, and then they took the contracts away. And they haven't said a single thing about the L5 cents.
Oh, no. But that's exactly it. And so, I mean, in the sense, though, we're doing away with that necessity for one central company, which is quite cool, because these FPGA chips, anybody can, in any kind of manufacturing company, can easily get access to the same hardware. They're not crypto specific. They're all-purpose, multi-purpose chips. And, I mean, so there's already a couple of other FPGA vendors that are already in talks with us saying, hey, yeah, we'll look at adding support for Digibyte to their crypto specific FPGAs.
Yeah, the Black Miner, is that correct?
Yeah, so Black Miner is one of those companies where they've got a purchase agreement, I presume, for certain Altera FPGAs, and they've basically said, yeah, we're supporting Digibyte. So I've been in talks actually with the team there. I think it was ever since about 5 days after we announced AutoCrypt on the testnet. And the guys there are incredible. So they've added support for it, and you actually get really decent performance out of their FPGAs. They're taking Digibyte as a payment method. They are using DigiID to log into their website and things now as well, so you can track your orders and the like, so it's super secure. It's really great. They've really gotten completely on board, and it's awesome to see. So they're kind of leading the way there in that sort of respect. It's great.
That's great. And also, I love how eco-friendly FPGAs are in comparison to ASICs. The amount of wattage used is nothing. It's like running a light bulb, essentially.
Well, that's great as well for a home miner. And so even if once I've bought it, the ongoing running cost for me to run one of my DE10 Nanos, they're 8 watts. So if you figure that a normal what do they call them? Like a non-LED light bulb is probably going to be between 60 to 100 watts.
Mhm.
If this is 8 watts, like that's nothing. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so now people can't make the argument that, Bitcoin, it's stupid. It's not scalable because, uses the same amount of energy as Ireland or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I presume though that instead the actual, we'll no doubt use less power with the FPGAs, but specifically we will end up getting more hash rate overall, and we'll have like more expensive hardware. Swings and roundabouts really. So as we get, because it's cheaper to run, more people are likely to buy it. As a result, we'll get more hash rate. We're more like distributed. Yeah.
And one great thing that I love about Digibyte is that you guys use multiple algorithms, not just one.
Yeah.
Like most
And
other
so
cryptos.
they're all competing against each other every single block, which is very different, obviously, from the likes of, say, Ravencoin with your X16R algorithm.
Yeah.
How much do you know about Raven and their X16 algorithm?
All I know is it's basically like X11, but just 16 different algorithms at once.
Yeah, basically. And so it's random based. I think it's on the previous block or something. The hash of it is what the next algorithm then gets chosen on. But the crazy thing is that all of these algorithms are ASIC mineable. Like, why would you? I mean, yeah, hey, congratulations, you're putting them all into a pseudo-random sort of order, but they're all still ASIC mineable. I don't know why.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So what's to stop me from having a 16 ASICs and eventually one of them will, pick the right order?
Yeah, well, so the ASIC will basically just chop and change between all the different ones. So, I mean, I'm just having a quick look here. So they've got Blue Midnight Wish, Grostel, Ketchak, Skeen, Cube Hash. All of these are ASIC mineable.
Yeah.
But it's simply the fact that they've previously been in a random order. I mean, it was only a matter of time, really. So I don't know why people are now surprised. I had the Ravencoin people, they were tweeting earlier last week, I think it was, basically going, so how do people feel about ASICs by the way?
That's hilarious.
And someone tagged me in it, and they're like, you guys need to start looking at multi-algo like Digibyte. And I came back and basically said, yeah, use X16R as one of your algorithms. That's a great idea. But have other ones that are competing against X16R, not specifically as part of it, where they go one after another in order, but actually have them compete with each other.
That's really awesome. I hope they adopt that. But one quick question. So how do you feel about Ravencoin, and what do you think about how Binance listing Ravencoin for no fee, quote unquote?
Well,
I know this is a loaded question, probably an entire other podcast.
No, it's totally cool. So okay, we'll quickly, like, how do we feel about Binance? In all honesty, I'm really indifferent these days. Like, I honestly don't care. I had somebody put a comment on one of my YouTube videos earlier on today, and this guy said, you seriously need to be on Coinbase, Kraken, or even Binance. Until then, I have no interest in purchasing your Digibyte. And I was like, well, that's a little bit entitled and self-absorbed. I've never once told anybody to go out and buy it. And if you're going, you've got to come to me or I'm never touching your project. Well, that's not what we're about in the first place either. So it's like, in all honesty, if someone wants to buy Digibyte at the moment, I'm not going to tell them they need to go out and buy it. I never have, and I never will, because that's completely up to them. That's the beauty of Digibyte. It's up to you. You are in control of your own money, your own finances, and there is no one who can tell you what to do. Nobody. But in saying that, if you do want to buy Digibyte, there is over 100 other exchanges. Many of them have direct like fiat on-ramps or other pairings with things, everything from like Dogecoin, USD Tether, US dollar. We've got just all of these different pairings and easy on-ramps.
Yeah.
Like, why do we really need one more?
I have been buying Digibyte off of Abra, a new platform that I just recently adopted.
Yeah, Abra's fantastic, and we've been on there now for a little while. We're actually looking to get native deposits and withdrawals off of them as well, so once you've purchased it, you can then pull it into your own wallet. But they act as a wallet anyway, so it's kind of not super urgent, I suppose. But yeah, like Abra's great. You can go out and you can buy it through US dollar with Coinbook or with VertBase or on Bittrex. Poloniex has added USDT. We've got these other exchanges that are in, we're seeing a ton of activity in Turkey, of all places.
Really? Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the financial and political unrest over there has basically meant that people are flocking instead to Digibyte. And so we see they're arguably I think on a daily basis, they're usually around about the third or fourth most highest trading volume is directly with their fiat currency. So the people over there know what's up. So big shout out to all the people over there in Turkey who believe in the project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's great.
But I mean, how do I feel about Ravencoin? To be honest, I've got their app on my phone. I had a look at it. I've downloaded their core wallet. It's kind of nice. I see why they've done some things some ways, and I completely am baffled by why they've done other things in other ways. They've got a major spam problem on their network.
That they do. Like, I looked at my Ravencoin wallet, and it's just loaded with all these random assets.
Yeah,
that people have sent me.
Some of them are like deep fake porn videos. Some of them are come over here and buy Viagra, and it's terrible. And it's, like, could you imagine, right? Like, let's say hypothetically you're out at a basketball game, right? And your kid gives you a ring and goes, hey, I want you to send me some Digibyte so I can go buy a hot dog or something, right? So you send them some Digibyte, or maybe they've actually got like an NBA specific Digi asset on their mobile wallet that allows you to buy things at certain NBA venues or online. You get a discount, that sort of stuff. So you send them a few bucks worth of this particular Digi asset. Kid fires up their wallet while they're at the game, and lo and behold, there's someone there, with their schlong out. like that sort of thing is what's happening right now on Raven. Like, that's not cool.
It isn't cool.
So although we've got the basics, we've got everything is there and it's available and it's pretty much ready to go, we don't quite want to put out like these mobile wallets just yet until we know that we're not going to have this sort of spam. It's just not something that we would hold our kids high and go, yeah, we've done really well if all of a sudden we've got all these like Viagra ads showing up.
Yeah. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that happen at Digi assets.
Yeah. Well, but if someone's going to send something like that, they can send 1,000 assets for very cheap because they'll batch them all and they'll send them to a bunch of different outputs and things like that. So in terms of actual storage and in terms of actual fees on chain, it doesn't cost them a lot. So I mean, Ravencoin have definitely got some work to do. From the sounds of things, they're looking at. Well, I know they're looking at a couple different things. I was reading some of their GitHub commits, so I mean that's cool. It's great that they are looking to improve that. It's a bummer it happened in the first place, but whatever, it happens. Speaking of Digi assets, though, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what you were saying before, if you don't mind us kind of bringing up your other picture that you're doing. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that, and I want to talk a little bit about Digi assets and that.
So what I'm doing in my other personal venture is I'm building solar farms. So I'm allowing for people to buy a solar panel on a solar farm, and they receive the profits of selling that power to the grid.
So I'm presuming that this is why you're interested in Ravencoin, at least partially?
So I was just interested in Ravencoin because I thought it was an interesting decentralized project. I was more interested in Digi assets. So originally I wanted to use Ethereum and create smart contracts to then pay out the token holders or security holders. But then I was looking at a post on Stellar development, and I was taking a look at that, and I was very interested in the built-in dividend features of Stellar, not to mention extremely cheap transaction cost on Stellar. But so right now I'm 50-50 trying to decide if Digi assets or Stellar is the right way for me to go. So
yeah, this is definitely one of the things where Digi assets would be like perfect. So let's say you've got how many solar panels might you have in a solar farm that somebody could then go out and buy?
Per farm, so I'm going to be doing multiple, but it's going to be roughly 10,000 solar panels per farm.
10,000, man, that's impressive. Holy moly!
This is going to be a big project.
Yeah, but so let's say you take let's say you're gonna put one in California. You call it California number one, just because I'm really non-creative with my naming scheme. So this is your California number one digi asset. You've issued 10,000 of them, and as a result, this means that let's say every month, anybody who owns one of those 10,000 digi assets will then receive a potential dividend. You know the address of the person who's holding it, and so you can just send them, say, right, it's the 1st of August now. I'm going to send everybody. They've all made an average out of this much across the month, so here you all get paid out. That sort of thing it's relatively easy to do, and I suppose the benefit you have as well, digi assets is cool because you could go, well, one of them has there was a storm or something, and there was a rock flung up, and one of them is now shattered. So you could either average it out across everybody, or instead you could say, well, that digi asset no longer represents this particular one, and so what we're going to do is we are not going to send assets to that particular person, or we could instead request that they send the asset back to us. Or maybe you go and you add an extra 1,000 solar panels to that farm, and so you can easily reissue and add another 1,000, which you can then distribute and sell to people and keep paying them on a regular basis. That kind of thing is what Digi Assets is basically going to shine at, really, especially given that people will be able to have that on their mobile. They'll be able to easily, let's say you're out and about and you're having a rough month and you're out with your mates and you're at a bar and you need to pay the bill. And one of your other mates says, well, how about I pay the bill and you can send me your share in that farm or something like that, So you can then easily from your mobile trade that asset with somebody. Again, it's minimal fees. There's nobody putting any kind of restrictions on what you can or cannot do with your own assets. It's a completely permissionless network. So, yeah, there's a lot of power in that. And I think it's going to be really cool when we start to see a lot more people taking that up and embracing it.
So where would one be able to buy a Digi asset?
So in terms of with this, people could potentially buy it from you directly. You could look at selling it through a third-party exchange, for example. You could run your own kind of initial token offering, any number of different things, really. It kind of depends on how you want to handle it. I was talking recently with the Crypto Mug investors, and I basically said, hey, look, if you guys wanted to use Digi Assets to sell tickets, you could do that directly with people. You could either have them pay you in Digibyte, you could have them pay through a website using the euro, Great British Pound, whatever, and then you can basically just send the asset to people. So there's a bunch of different ways to go about that.
That's interesting. So I was looking at an article that was discussing Ravencoin's issue with assets and third-party marketplaces not being able to handle them yet. So I wasn't quite sure if Digi assets were able to be added to third-party marketplaces or changes.
Yeah, well, so because basically the assets are embedded in the OP return, there's certain prefixes for that, which say an exchange could look out for, and they could basically know, right, this UTXO has an asset in there. They can easily look it up, find out what the asset is, and there is definitely going to be a bit of an onboarding process for these assets and things if you wanted to through a larger exchange. But it's all very doable, and they have everything that they need, I suppose, in the core wallet. They can basically build directly on top of that. There are additional libraries and things like that which will make their life easier, which they can use as well, which we've definitely got on the github.com/digibyte-core. But yeah, it's all very much doable, and we've got people already that are very much building on top of it. So it's super cool to see that.
That is really super cool. Wow. Yeah. And who knows, maybe I'll adopt that, and maybe they'll all include DigiID. For them to log into the website.
Yeah. So that's one of the cooler things that we've been seeing a lot. It's slowly starting to gain a bit of traction as people kind of going, yeah, I can use DigiID. It's super fast and super convenient to log into websites. Yeah. I was trying it out with the Black Miner people the other day on their website after I went in and I bought one of their smaller FPGAs. And I'm looking at this going, I can't believe that I put up with having to enter in my username, typing in my password, going and grabbing my phone. You got the timed one-time passwords, but it's near the end, so you kind of got to wait a little while, wait for it to tick over for 10 seconds because you can't punch the numbers in that quickly. It ticks over. You got to type it in. It's a pain.
It is a pain.
It sucks.
And so my jaw literally dropped the first time that I saw a video demo of DigiID.
Yep.
It blew my mind.
It's incredible. Just the whole entire shift, both not just in terms of the way that it's handled, but in terms of the way that we expect to log in. Like, so we're going to expect now that, I would like to hope at least, that this is going to become kind of the de facto sort of way that you would log in. It's a challenge request that gets signed and sent to the destination to prove that you are you without your username and password ever going anywhere, because there is no username, there is no password. So it means that if that one particular place ever gets hacked, like let's say, for example, LinkedIn, they got hacked a while ago, 2016, I think it was. Everybody's usernames, passwords, email addresses, like your date of birth and all that sort of jazz, all completely out there on the internet. Now, if you've used that username and password anywhere else, obviously you're screwed. All of a sudden, I found that my Skype account was getting attacked and things like that. That can't happen with DigiID because it's not a username, it's not a password, it's uniquely generated for each website. It's incredible. I'm just looking forward to people getting rid of SMS two-factor authentication because that needs to die in a fire real quick.
Oh my gosh, yeah, right now, like yesterday, it should have died.
I'm very vocal, I suppose. I presume you've kind of seen it on Twitter. Every time it comes up, it's semi-regularly, and it's a case of we need to actually start expecting exchanges not to offer it because they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're shooting their users in the foot. It's a false expectation of privacy. You're like, yeah, I'm safe. I've got SMS two-factor authentication, and it doesn't help at all. Like, how terrible is that?
So what I'm really worried about is people are learning that SMS two-factor is not safe, so they're going to switch to Google's two-factor solution, their authenticator app.
Yep,
and
which again, Google don't use.
Then they're going to get a brand new phone. Then guess what? They won't be able to transfer their authentication to their new phone.
Yeah.
Or God forbid they lose their phone or get stolen, and then they're screwed because there's no backup of it.
Yeah, and so this is why Google themselves don't use it. So it's two-factor. Number one, because management of it sucks. Number two, because what happens for phishing attempts, man in the middle, things like that. All you've got to do is have a website that looks like identical or even just roughly similar, and they've got everything. Whereas on the other hand, if you are generating a request, let's say you're generating it for Bittrex.com. You send the request directly to Bittrex.com. If there's a man in the middle attempt, you don't send that request back to Bittrex.com. You send that request instead to fake Bittrex.com. And as a result, they can't then use that. It's completely different. And I love that additional checkpoint, I suppose, as it were.
That also makes me really curious. So that kind of phishing wouldn't be possible with DigiID because,
correct.
Wow,
when you go and you try and sign in, the wallet prompts you and the wallet says, this is the URL that you're trying to sign into. Does it match up? And you look at it and you go, this is fakebinance.com. That's not the real point. Right? Like, why is someone trying to take my credentials? Whereas then you go to the actual website and the website and your URL bar and it's very different.
So how can we get websites to do that?
Well, that's a really good question. So there is definitely a little bit of implementation time, but I mean, we were even told by the black miner people, they were like, yeah, it was pretty straightforward. They didn't have any major issues, and they did a custom integration with your website. So that's super awesome. Yeah, basically just get in contact with them, say, hey, look, I would like to use DigiID to be able to sign into your website. I want to be able to sign in securely, and we've got digi-id.io is a great place for them to get started at. We've got a couple of demo sites and things there. We've got some libraries, some examples. If people are using WordPress, WooCommerce, a bunch of other little things like that, we're starting to get some default plugins that people can use. So that's also quite cool.
I would like to start discussing some of your media miracles. Is there anything else you want to discuss or to elaborate on that?
No, I feel like we're about to get elaborating on things right now.
So you have written a lot of interesting Medium articles.
Thank you.
I highly recommend for people to read them. I will include a few links to a few of them in the show notes below. So some of the ones they've written are Binance's extortion of new projects, Venezuela relief projects, the dark side of partnerships and exchange listings.
That was a good one. I remember that one.
That was a good one. And one of your recent ones titled Defeating the Liars. Let's be honest about blockchain projects.
Yep.
You're basically calling out the true development on blockchain projects, mainly forks of Bitcoin. So tell me a little bit about.
It is one of. Let's just be clear. Like, so we're definitely one of those.
That is true. Yes.
So I'm not saying that we're exempt from this in any way, shape, or form. This is definitely also applicable to us, but mainly a couple of other projects as I dive into in that.
So tell me a little bit about the article and why you wrote it.
Right. So I'd actually been getting tagged several times a week, even like from people in the Litecoin community. They weren't even Digibyte followers per se. That was the really messed up thing, was they were coming to me saying, "Hey, can you clarify this for me?" Whereas I didn't write the original article that this was a response to. So this was a response to an article by Mr. Gashi, I think it is. What's his name? Let me bring up my Medium. So he is on the Foundation for Litecoin, I believe.
Yes, he is.
So yeah, here we go. Mr. Gashi from the Litecoin Foundation. I've just brought it up here. I can't. He's blocked me from seeing his tweets, so I can't even see what
Gotta love that. Gotta love people that can't handle the truth, so they just block you.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. It's fine. Here we go. So defeating the FUD, Litecoin GitHub commits activity. Now, he's gone and written a really long post here that basically says, we're awesome, like, everything's on fire, we're doing so much development, and everything is great, and we're pushing boundaries, and we're doing so much development, and it's awesome, and there's actually no development. Like, that's kind of where it ends. Like, there's actually none. So I didn't actually send you an image, but halfway down, there's the image on his post, which basically says, Bitcoin was launched here, Litecoin was launched here, we did this release, we did this release, we did this release, we did this release. Somebody has taken that and kind of compared that to Digibyte. Now, if you look at every single thing that they've done since they released, they're basically just pulling from Bitcoin. That's all that has happened in the last 8 whatever years. There is nothing new. There is nothing innovative. There is nothing that is unique. There is nothing that is special for Litecoin. It is 8 years of them resting on their laurels and pulling from Bitcoin upstream. And that's totally fine if they want to basically say, yeah, all we're doing is like we're content with where things are. But that's not what he said, and that's what I personally took issue with, and that's why people were getting in touch with me. Was because he says here, Litecoin have 56,000 commits and 1,700 contributors. They don't. They've actually got about 6 contributors.
But Josiah, but what about all the token pay and the hotel partnerships? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
well,
so
there have been a few changes, but it's mainly from one guy, right? And it's just
on Litecoin.
Yeah, on Litecoin. And it's just they're just changing the year. Yeah.
So basically Slasher is the reason he's at this moment for the last sort of 2.5 years, he is the sole reason that Litecoin has still had development. So hats off to him. You know, he's been keeping it afloat. Good for him. Good for Litecoin. But he is the only person who's been doing it, and he's been pulling from upstream Bitcoin, and that's basically it. Like, that's cool. If that's all that you want to do, like, no problems whatsoever with that. But when the Litecoin Foundation, and this gentleman, Mr. Gashi, who was from the Litecoin Foundation, I don't know, I think he's like a community manager, when he is intentionally lying to people, misleading them, trying to pull the wool over their eyes, I take issue with that. Because Litecoin hasn't had 56,000 total commits. In fact, the last commit for their whole entire update was like 12 commits. And the one before that was something similar as well, done by 2 people. Like, it's nothing. And that's fine if all they're trying to do is maintain feature parity with Bitcoin, they're still already doing better than Dogecoin, right? So good on them there. Let's be clear about that. But they're lying.
Yeah, I don't appreciate them not being honest about that. And also, I feel like Charlie Lee.
He's abandoned the project.
Yeah, and he's doing weird stuff that I don't like. I knew that he wasn't really that popular in the community, or on Twitter, I should say.
Yeah.
But I mean, him now hanging out with Justin Sun from Tron, that weird stuff going on with Token Pay. I just don't know what to think about the guy.
He's great at pump and dump. So he got it listed on Coinbase. Then he left. I think it was like around about the same time. I don't know the exact timeline there. To be honest, I don't really care enough. I know that he got it listed. Great, cool. He left. Great, cool. Price rose up. He's dumped all his coins. He's now ditched Litecoin. He don't give a shit about it. He's now shilling Token Pay because Derek from Token Pay has a whole lot of money.
That's a different Derek, by the way, for the listeners at home.
Yeah, sorry. But this is again a different. This is Derek who's he founded Token Pay, and they were 75% pre-mined. Now, normally that's not too bad. Like, let's say for example, if you're XRP and you're 100% pre-mined, that doesn't affect their consensus model. Token Pay used proof of stake. It does affect their consensus model. This means that because he owns the majority himself, that he could potentially start looking into doing some sort of a 51% attack. He was talking at the Litecoin Summit last year where he even said this. So I've actually got a small little video on YouTube where I have the clip of him saying, you don't ever want to be using proof of stake and have someone have 51% because then your project dies.
Oh, geez.
His own words, like not mine. So
wow.
Now Charlie Lee is in bed with Derek. They're getting like 10% or 9% whatever of a bank. Anytime somebody waves a crypto credit card in front of Charlie Lee, he just seems to kind of roll over and show his belly and be like, "Yes, I want fun." I'm not a fan of crypto credit cards in the slightest. I don't care for them at all. So
yeah,
you know,
neither do I.
But he wants one. I mean, whatever. That's totally cool. I'm fine with different strokes for different folks. But now he's also hanging out a lot with Justin's son. I was going to say scam. Justin Scam. A known serial, like, con artist. The dude gets caught lying more than almost anybody else in the whole entire industry. And it's like, that's not the kind of person that you want to start hanging out with. Somebody who is highly pre-mined, who owns a bunch of these tokens. They're now trying to shill the BitTorrent token and things. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the entire BitTorrent thing pisses me off so bad.
It's a great big pump and dump.
It really is. And then then he was saying like, oh, you know, BitTorrent's going to use this token now. No, it isn't. It isn't going to use this token. There's if you had to use a token to use BitTorrent, no one would use BitTorrent.
Exactly. Like, I don't know about you, but I've got Transmission. I use that occasionally. That's how I download my, like, Ubuntu and stuff like that, so I can run it on my servers and things. And I leave it seeding, and I have Transmission running, and it works just fine. I've got a gigabit internet connection here at home. I can download the, like, couple of gigs worth of ISO in seconds. There is no problem. Why would I want to get a token? What's the point? It's ridiculous.
Justin Sun scares me in the fact that I'm afraid that if I was on an elevator with Justin Sun, I would somehow be involved in a partnership with him.
Yeah. You would get sucked into the void.
There would be suddenly a tweet about me and him.
ICOs and things and offering pre-mined tokens, and you know, it hurts.
Then he's like BFS with CZ, which Binance is nothing but a pump and dump.
Well, how much do you know about the launch of Binance?
The launch of Binance? Actually, not that much, to be honest.
Okay. So I'll give you a little bit of history because I was actually around, like I mentioned, I kind of got a bit more involved with Digibyte at the start of 2014. Now, 2017, I kind of came back to it. Now, around about that time, they got entered into and accepted into the City Tick for Integrity Challenge. Now, this was around about April, May of 2017. Now, I don't know exactly when Binance launched, but it was around about that time, maybe shortly afterwards. The fascinating thing is that Digibyte was not on there at the time, But we won one of their earlier community vote things that was not done like they do it now, where you've got to pay with BNB tokens to vote and things. It was literally just done on Twitter. We won one.
Yeah, I voted for Digibyte on that poll on Twitter.
Back in 2017?
Yeah, I remember doing that.
Right. So now the really interesting thing was, so back then, Digibyte was, it's one of those articles that no doubt you read, but back then, we were one of the original default hashtags so when you're on their website and you click share my referral link, it would share with like $DGB, I think it was, or hashtag Digibyte, even though we weren't on there. Now, Digibyte was riding a wave of just general kind of enthusiasm at that time, and even very briefly made it into the top 10 as a result of this. There was a meme contest and a bunch of other shit going on. There was the Minecraft server and things as well, a whole bunch of stuff, and it was just this perfect storm that kind of came together. And Binance ended up riding off of the coattails of Digibyte at that time, with including that as their default tweet that would share your referral link for them. And so that was largely how they got to be known, because they came out of nowhere in 2017. Just all of a sudden, poof, here's this exchange that, Digibyte wasn't even on, but they're using the hashtags. And so people searching through Twitter would find it and find out about it. And people are going, hey, use my referral link. You can get cool stuff if you do this. It's minimized trading fees. That was all that they offered at the time. If you had BNB, was minimized trading fees, but it was enough to draw people in. So
yeah, that blows my mind, because I was on Twitter and then suddenly everyone was talking about Binance, and then I felt like an idiot for not knowing what the hell that was at the time. Yeah,
but
and that explains why it was so sudden.
What are some of those other ones? What was that, like Mint one or something? There's that CEX or something as well. There's been Mt. Gox. There's been, over the years, in terms of exchanges that have come and gone, really, really, really big ones, there's been dozens of them. And Binance will no doubt just be the latest in the long string of it. The Binance token is pointless. It offers nothing. The minimized trading fees, the amount that you save by having it, is decreasing year on year and will be nothing as of, I think it's 2020 or 2021. So why would you want to be left holding it? It offers you nothing.
Then they have their centralized, decentralized exchange. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely decentralized in and of the fact that it uses the Binance token. And by the way, CZ was the one who just recently decided that they were going to burn a whole lot more of it. And by the way, you've got to pay CZ in order to run a node. I got into an argument with somebody on Twitter. Again, I ended up being blocked as a result of it, but whatever. I'm hopefully building up a bit of a reputation for being brutally honest and truthful. And this particular person said, Binance is great. They're completely decentralized. There is no pre-mine or ICO for BNB. And I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean there's no pre-mine?
There's no pre-mine. There's no, what the hell?
It's 100% pre-mined.
Yes.
You can't just hold up an apple and go, this is an elephant, everybody bow down to my elephant. That's not how the world works.
And of course, I bet that you told the person that it wasn't pre-mined and they didn't care.
I did, and they came back and said something else and ignored it, so I got a little bit more colorful with my descriptions, and then I got blocked. But what can you do?
Sounds about right.
That's life. It is what it is. Hopefully the other people that are seeing that person's tweets will know the truth and know that it's nonsense. So, it's really tough, because that's one of the things that's been, especially throughout 2017 with the rise of the ICO mania, there was so much misinformation out there. And yeah, sure, maybe I'm just one guy, but I would like to think that coupled with being honest about Digibyte, but also calling out the lies from other projects, maybe that's actually going to reflect decently on Digibyte and hopefully well enough long-term on myself as well. Mm-hmm. If not, then hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles, whatever.
Yeah, I think long-term that will look good. I mean, short-term, maybe some people will be a little bit butthurt for, hearing that XRP isn't decentralized. But I think once people learn, kind of like when people were bashing on Doug Polk for calling out
BitConnect.
Yeah, BitConnect.
I remember that.
Yeah, and what happened? exactly what Doug Polk was warning people about.
Well, I think he even had some people posting like death threats at him or something, going, "You don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna come and kill." It was really bad.
It was really bad.
And then I think it was like a week later or something, January 9th, I think, something around about then. That was it. It was gone, like overnight. Poof. Just completely up and vanished, and people were still trying to shill it even after it tanked. So
I remember that. Oh my god, and that was so painful to watch too. That
it really was.
Yeah, I mean, they were just trying to get people to, buy their bags.
What can you do, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. So I would like to hope that. It's funny because his videos showed up in my YouTube suggested list earlier on this year because it had been a year. And so I was like, yeah, I'll watch this again. I was like, oh, holy crap. This is so painful because how could people not see it? Like, on their website, it literally showed a pyramid. Pyramid scheme.
But it's not a pyramid scheme.
Guy... What's his name? Carlos Matos. Even his wife was like, that's a scam. Mate, you should have listened to your wife. Your wife knows what's up. I don't even know if he's actually married or not, but whatever.
He probably isn't.
It was probably a lie like everything else that he said. So, I mean, that was hilarious. But it sucks because, so, like, part of it comes down to, like, my own conscience, right? Like, so I was raised in a relatively, like, conservative Christian family and things. It hurts seeing other people basically getting sucked into these scams. It plays on my conscience.
It does to mine. That's exactly why I made this podcast, is to warn people from those kind of scams.
Yeah.
And to just be smart and just how to secure yourself.
Unfortunately, the messenger ends up getting shot a lot of the time. I mean, that's the sad thing is people are like, oh, no, it's not a scam. You just need to do your own research. Well, no, apparently people have done their own research and it's turned up terribly. Like, that is the biggest cop-out ever. Don't tell them to go do their own research. Help them. Show them what the real truth is. Show them why. Reference other third-party articles and things like that. And show them on the blockchain.
I mean, it doesn't help when they try to do their own research, but they just read the pamphlet of the pyramid scheme as their research.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's exactly what a white paper is designed to do. Well, at least the ICO white papers, because oftentimes all they are is, like you say, they're a pamphlet. It's a marketing gimmick. It's pointless. It just basically goes, yeah, we're awesome. Yes, you can do a distributed YouTube. People are like, a distributed YouTube? Yeah, that sounds awesome. No, it doesn't. Your computer sucks. There's a reason why YouTube doesn't work for you right now. I don't want to be downloading my YouTube from your shitty-ass Wi-Fi connection. Like, that's a terrible idea. Don't ever do that.
I mean, I do feel like we will see the end of white papers, and we will see more truthful people in the space come to the top.
I would like to hope so. I mean, but I'm an eternal optimist. Well, I mean, I'm not so much optimist. I'm also very pessimistic at the same time. But I really am optimistic, and I like to look for the best in a situation, the best in people. I would like to, like, as bad as this sounds, I would like to think that a bunch of projects are actually just going to up and die. They need to. We don't need 2,000 coins on CoinMarketCap that are all vying to be the next Bitcoin. Like, what's the point?
I made a tweet, I think back in like 2017, something like that. I was calling that, I think that by 2021, there's only going to be, I mean, the projects will still be there. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, nearly everything's going to go zero besides like maybe 25 projects.
I'd like to hope so. I mean, it's a really unpopular opinion, but I look at it and I go, we don't need to have 5 other projects in the top like 50 market cap competing to be the next Ethereum. Just use Ethereum and help figure out a way to scale it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, I was looking at some statistics from CoinGate. They recently published it, and CoinGate are, for the people who don't know, are one of the larger crypto payment processing networks. I think they are the largest, potentially. Anyway, they're publishing some statistics on Litecoin. And one of the interesting things that I found was that people, I think it was like almost 60% of people who paid with Litecoin ended up having their currency converted into Bitcoin. And then I think it was only like 17 or 18% of the people who paid with Litecoin, the recipient of that payment ever kept it in Litecoin. So most of them, there was a whole lot that converted also to, like, say, US dollars, for example. I think it was almost 3 times more people simply converted it immediately into Bitcoin rather than keeping it as Litecoin. Why would people not just pay with Bitcoin in the first bloody place then? Like, what's the actual point? Let's put on our analytical investigation of this. Like, what's the actual point?
Well, I will say that I do make payments in Litecoin for my mining rigs. So I use an application called SMOS, Simple Mining Operating System.
Right.
And so I have to pay like $2 a month.
Okay.
And so I have the choice between Bitcoin and
Litecoin. Like, let's kind of dive into this. What is it about Litecoin that makes you pay with Litecoin rather than just using something like Bitcoin, for example?
Because I have a bunch of it and I find it almost useless and the transaction fees are low.
Okay,
I don't mind throwing some Litecoin here and there. I don't mind at all. Also, same thing with ETC. Like, you accept Ethereum Classic? Psh, sure, here you go. But
the thing is, most people, if they start with Bitcoin, like, if people want Bitcoin, right? Like, which apparently they do. This is according to CoinGate statistics, not mine. People are 3 times more likely to keep their money and take it and receive it in Bitcoin. We're still making another transaction on the blockchain anyway, because even as you send them your Litecoin, that then has to get converted into Bitcoin and then sent to them. So it's still contributing to the problem of higher fees on Bitcoin in the first place.
True. Very true.
I kind of feel like it's just a little bit of kicking the can down the road. Like, it's
that's true. So what do you think about, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, why do we need all of these other things that are literally just marginal? Like, maybe if it's like a 10x improvement or a 100x improvement, sure. But if we're talking, you have, like, your claim to fame is that you have 4 times faster blocks. So what?
Yeah. So what's your opinion on the Lightning Network?
I don't think it's going to be the solution to Bitcoin scaling. I mean, so a lot of the things at the moment it's used for are like these microtransactions and things like that. Like, you can pay 1 cent for a gumball or something like that. Why do you need to pay a cent for a gumball? Why does that need to be done as like an on-chain transaction? What if you're talking about, like, let's say a really good example, Twitch payments, right? So you can go and you can tip somebody 1 cent using the Lightning Network on Twitch.tv with, like, you're watching your favorite streamer. You're like, yeah, I love what you're doing. Here's a micro payment. Why does that need to go across a decentralized network? Why does it need to be done on chain? Why can't we just use Reddit's example? Like, you pay them money, they're looking after it. You've paid them like a couple bucks. Who gives a shit? And they look after it. And that's the Reddit Gold or the Reddit Silver, stuff like that. Why does it need to be done in a decentralized and distributed manner? If you lose that 1 cent, are you gonna really care? Or is this gonna use up more of your time and effort to set up the wallet? I mean, people aren't going to anyway. There's custodial Lightning Network solutions. What's the freaking point?
I feel like that just completely goes against the entire point of Bitcoin.
100%. It's completely counterintuitive. And they're going, this is the solution to our scaling problems? No, it's not. The solution to our scaling problems is slowly growing the block size so that more people can use it. Fees are going to go up. Like, let's be honest. You're storing something for eternity on the blockchain. You don't specifically need to just be paying like 1/10 of a cent to do it. There should definitely be some value to making that transaction. I don't know what that value will be. It will go up and down over time, no doubt. But should it be $50 to keep a transaction on the blockchain for all eternity? I don't know. Maybe. Should it be less? Probably. We'll get more people using it that way for sure.
Very good point. Huh.
Like, that's the thing. So every time you make a transaction, it's got to be, like, it will eventually have to go on-chain. That's what, even with the Lightning Network. And so if you're making these transactions and things like that, let's say you go and you put $50 on the Lightning Network. There comes a point in time where the fees on Bitcoin are still going to be more than that $50. And if that's the fee for you to close out and sell your Lightning channel, there's no point in you continuing to use it because the fees to settle are more than the fees that the other person's going to get on the other side. It comes undone very quickly.
So you're suggesting that we should increase the block sizes bit by bit over time to handle the issue with transactions?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly merit to it, but at the same time, there's also merit to making sure that people are good citizens and stewards of the blockchain and that they're not. Like, take exchanges, for example. They can gather all of their inputs and then, like, batch send to a bunch of people when it comes time to withdraw, maybe once every couple of blocks or something like that. They don't have to do one transaction per person as soon as they request it,
Right.
they
Yeah.
can be smart about it. So the same thing comes for, like, let's say, for example, with Digi Assets, right? Let's say that you've gone and you've issued 10,000 of these Digi Assets for your solar farm. You wouldn't send it one transaction, one at a time, making a new transaction for every single person. No, instead what you would do is you would be clever about it, and you're going to save on fees, obviously, because there is a small incentive to do it because it's a cost. And so you'll take these 10,000 assets, and you probably won't do it all in just one transaction because that's going to be a mighty big transaction.
Yeah.
But you will instead go, right, I've gone, and so at the end of the day today, I've now gone and sold another 100 of these, and so I'm going to send all 100 all in a single transaction. It's going to cost you way, way, way less. It's going to use way less data on the blockchain as a result. And that's the kind of thing that having a fee incentivizes, that sort of being more clever about it, I suppose. So it really is a tough one because obviously I would, like, Digibyte is going to grow. We're going to increase the block size and things like that. How much should it grow by and at what stage and what should an ideal fee be? That is definitely not something I have an answer for, though.
I feel like there's companies or there are major players that don't want to increase the block size. They don't want to increase the block time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like they're just artificially limiting Bitcoin's ability to
it's a
be Bitcoin.
one, right? Because if they, let's say they increase the block size, they'll get more transactions. They don't increase the block size, they get less transactions, but they get a greater fee because people start paying more. It's a catch-22. So like a rock and a hard place kind of situation. I don't know what the ideal scenario is for Bitcoin. I think there was a recent, like if you look on the Bitcoin wiki, it's like that, what is it, Bitcoin? Let me quickly look this up. en.bitcoin.it. Here we go. On this, there's a page specifically about the scaling debate. And the interesting thing is that the vast majority support increasing the block size at some time. Where? I don't know. Maybe somebody just needs to simply put it out there and go, hey, let's actually just do it again. We did the SegWit 2x thing. That didn't quite work out. Maybe now that we've gone and done SegWit, let's now implement the 2x part. Let's double the block size and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that right before Satoshi disappeared, he wrote something, a Bitcoin Talk forum post about increasing the block size.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that like the SV proponents regularly refer back to. And that's the interesting thing is that, so hypothetically, let's say we take Bitcoin, let's say we double the block size to 2 megabytes. All of a sudden we can, I mean, it will slowly churn through the mempool. It'll take a little while. There will be slightly less fees as well as a result because the average Satoshi per byte can go down. But now all of a sudden, Bitcoin Cash has no reason to exist, and potentially neither does Bitcoin SV. And if we've doubled the block size, neither does Litecoin. So we can now amalgamate the market cap from those coins. Like that's going to do wonders for people who are already holding Bitcoin and want the price of it to go up. It's also going to potentially, like, what's the word? Like, gather the developers and bring them all back, like little lost sheep. Like, come back, Bitcoin again.
I like that mental image.
Yeah. Right? So, I mean, that's one of the things is, could you imagine if instead of, like, let's say, I mean, let's use Litecoin as an example. Let's say that Slasher, instead of working on Litecoin, was now working on Bitcoin as well and helping the Bitcoin team out. So instead of having these two other code bases that are slightly diverged, and one of them is, let's say we've gone and doubled the Bitcoin block size. So now the benefit that you get out of Litecoin is literally just the 4 times faster transactions, but your block size is half as large. There's like, is there really any need for it then? Or can we all just simply use Bitcoin? Like, there's not enough of a point of difference for Litecoin. Like, I really don't understand. And so now all of a sudden, all of the people that are saying, let's go and we're going to pay with Litecoin can now actually just go, instead of going, let's pay with Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibyte, let's just pay with Bitcoin. And we're going to use Digibyte for our assets instead. Something like that. Or instead of us having to now split the development between the Bread wallet and Loaf wallet, they can all just develop on the one code base. Instead of splitting it between Litecoin Core and Bitcoin Core, maybe Slasher either retires and goes, I've had enough of development. Or maybe he goes, yeah, I'm going to help the Bitcoin Core team. They're cool people. They're doing some cool stuff. We merge their stuff anyway. Why not? I'll help them out. And let's progress the whole economy. Something to think about. I don't have the answers for it, but I like to think about it. I just...
Would it be possible that since Digibyte is built on top of Bitcoin, or it's rather a fork of it, I guess I should say, to be a little bit more accurate,
A fork of the code base, not a fork of the blockchain, though. But yes.
Oh yeah, true. Good point. Would it be possible for Bitcoin to basically take what Digibyte has done with, let's say, DigiShield or Digi Assets and include that into a future version of Bitcoin or future update?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in fact, here's a quick little history lesson, I suppose. So back in the day when they were forking off in Bitcoin Cash and everything was forking off to not be part of the SegWit upgrade that happened 2017, everybody was saying it's going to happen from this particular block. We're going to fork off. And it didn't happen on that particular block. Now, at the time, Jared Tate was rightfully commentating on Twitter going, I don't know why everybody's sitting around watching. It's going to take them weeks to find the block. So what actually happened was they ended up manually adjusting down the difficult. I think it was actually like twice. And they implemented DigiShield. So they used DigiShield and Bitcoin Cash as their difficulty adjustment algorithm.
That is really interesting. I did not know that.
And so the interesting thing as well is about DigiAssets. So DigiAssets is very similar to Ethereum, I suppose, in a number of ways, what it was a little while ago, but we're building it on top of a UTXO blockchain set rather than Ethereum's accounting based. We are basing that off of the Color Coins protocol, which is what Mastercoin is based off of, which is what Omni is based off of, which is Tether, and it's all very incestuous, and forks of forks of forks. Yeah, very much so. DigiAssets was originally an upgrade for the Bitcoin Core protocol that could be run on top of it. But Bitcoin doesn't scale well enough, and there's problems with getting wallet support and things like that. We don't have that problem because we're embracing it like from the top down across our entire ecosystem. So we are going to have these, like our mobile wallets will support it. So yeah, it's very much DigiAssets even could be something that people could do on Bitcoin. But could you imagine, like, let's say you rock on up to Miley Cyrus concert or something like that, and there's like 30,000 teeny boppers there that are all trying to get into the venue within the space of half an hour. Bitcoin doesn't have the capacity for that. Digibyte does. So we've definitely, although we could do something like that, because we're not just like a 4x improvement over it, there's certainly merit to having a completely independent blockchain in a number of different ways.
That there is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so an interesting little bit of history there, eh?
Yeah. I think I've kept you for nearly over an hour, but yeah, I would definitely love to have you to back on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, thanks so much for having me on there,
and the conversation.
And keep on educating people. And I appreciate obviously that you're pursuing that honesty and helping to teach people. That's something that should be commended. So good on you, man.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
Take care. Thanks, man. Cheers.
Bye.